Hi everyone, another quick update. I want to talk about two topics today. So my phone call with the French-speaking journalist, the Belgian French-speaking journalist about strabismus, amblyopia and binocular disorders went very well. And we also talked about my French translation of Fixing My Gaze. So she will read my translation and she will contact some other sources. So she will call around, ask ophthalmologists for their reaction. And then I assume she will write an article about it. And I haven't seen it yet because she's still reading the book. So we will see what comes of it. But either way, if there's an article, many people will get to know that there's another treatment for strabismus aside from just patching and aside from eye muscle surgery, and that will help many people. And reading Fixing My Gaze always is a big eye opener for anyone with strabismus. So that would be very positive if many people get to read the book. And then I will continue to contact other journalists in Belgium and then also in France. And it would be great if I could get some kind of interview with a major French publication. Then many more people would learn about vision therapy and why their kids are struggling or why they are struggling and why don't they have any clear answers or solutions in front of them. So that would be great. So I will keep working on that, and every time I can do an interview like this with a newspaper or a radio or TV, I feel very happy. It makes me feel I'm making a difference and many people will be helped. So that made me very happy on Tuesday. The fact that it went well, because it's also not that easy to do it in a language like basically my third language, but it went very well. And then another thing I want to talk about. So last week I felt very tired and very stressed and kind of helpless and hopeless because of several things. We just recently moved. The kids' school is just settling in and they don't have after school care yet. Partly because I wanted them to feel comfortable first, and partly because you have to make a reservation like 2 months in advance, etc. So I now did it, so they will go to after school care starting in March or end of February. So then it will become less stressful for me and I have some more time to complete all my tasks. But either way, I felt very overloaded and sad. So you don't always have the right people to talk to. My wife is also very busy and stressed, and like even if you have a vision therapy that you meet regularly, a vision therapist that you meet regularly, they don't always have the time or the personal experience or just the creativity to tell you the right things at the right time. So I talked to ChatGPT, but you could also talk to Gemini, I suppose. And of course, always take everything with a grain of salt. But this thing seems to have like an uncanny understanding, or based on all the things it has read, all other testimonies or videos it has watched, it knows kind of how you feel, and it knows about binocular disorders and what they do to you. So it combines all this information that it has and it gives you very good answers. So I said, I recently moved and I'm overburdened with work, kids, and adapting to the new house. And I also miss my old environment. I still follow my vision training regimen, but I feel my vision is tired. Any advice? And also you should know that this is the continuation of a conversation I had before, in which I already explained a lot, and I kind of gave it my whole visual, like a short summary of my whole visual history. So it knows a lot already about me and my vision. So it gives me appropriate answers. So what you're describing, so now it's ChatGPT, what you're describing makes a lot of sense. It's actually very common in people with doing binocular therapy, especially those with a long history like yours. Let me say this clearly first. Nothing is going wrong with your vision. What you're feeling is very likely system overload, not regression. You stacked several big stressors on top of an already demanding neural task, vision therapy. So vision therapy is already something very demanding to do. Why your vision feels tired right now. you got multiple simultaneous loads, the recent move, so that's huge sensory and emotional disruption, work pressure, kids, constant cognitive load, adapting to a new visual environment, lighting, layout, distances, ongoing binocular retraining, which is cognitively expensive, missing your old environment, emotional stress directly affects fusion. Your visual system is part of your nervous system, and when the nervous system is overloaded, fusion is one of the first things to fatigue. This does not mean that your gains are lost. What stress does to your binocular vision temporarily? Under stress and fatigue, suppression increases, fusion stamina drops, eye movements feel less smooth, head movements trigger diplopia more easily, stereo feels harder to access, and visual reality tasks feel more effortful. This is state dependent, not structural. When load decreases, function returns. First, what not to do. Avoid the common traps. Pushing harder in therapy. Increasing VR frequency to catch up. Doing therapy late at night. Judging progress based on tired days. Interpreting fatigue as failure. These actually prolong visual exhaustion. And that's true. I had experienced like that many times over the years. So the best thing to do is to back off a little bit. What to do right now? Practical, gentle, effective. Shift into maintenance mode for 2 to 3 weeks. This is not quitting, it's smart pacing. Keep your current frequency, but shorten VR sessions slightly, 20 to 25 minutes instead of 30 minutes. Stop immediately if fusion quality drops noticeably. Your goal right now is to preserve gains, not push thresholds. Protect your best visual time of the day. You're already doing something very right by training in the morning. If possible, keep VR first thing after breakfast. Avoid vision therapy later in the day, and treat morning sessions as non-negotiable but gentle. Lower visual load outside of therapy. You can't reduce work or kids right now, but you can reduce visual stress by dimming harsh lighting in the evening, increase font size temporarily, avoid long phone use, take short distance gaze breaks, and reduce fast scrolling. Think of this as freeing up bandwidth for fusion. Yeah, that's good. Add 2 to 3 visual rest rituals daily. These help. These help more than people expect. Examples of these vision rest rituals. Quiet walk outside looking far away, eyes closed plus slow breathing, warm compress over the eyes, sitting by the window with soft distance gaze. This isn't doing nothing, it actively restores fusion capacity. Yeah, sometimes we're chasing productivity and we think that just resting is a waste of time, but definitely in our case it's very necessary to restore fusion a little bit. Normalize emotional strain. Missing your old environment matters. Visual comfort is closely tied to emotional safety, predictability, and familiarity. It's okay to acknowledge my nervous system is still settling. That alone reduces internal pressure, which helps vision. Yeah, so just accept it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable for a while, and then just that takes off the edge already. That's good advice as well. What to expect over the next weeks. If you do the above, visual tiredness should gradually ease in 1 to 3 weeks. Stereo thresholds may stay flat, but that's okay. Fusions should feel more accessible again, and VR sessions will feel less effortful. Your plateau will remain intact, not regress. once life load stabilizes, that's when people often see their next improvement jump. A reassuring perspective. You are doing something neurologically demanding during a life transition. The fact that you are still training, still aware of fatigue, still protecting consistency and not regressing actually speaks to how resilient your system has become. This phase is about consolidation and resilience, not performance. One grounding thought to keep with you. Right now, my visual system is learning how to function under real life stress, and that's part of progress, not a setback. So I really enjoyed this conversation when I was feeling so down. Really took off the edge already a little bit. It's not something that a normal friend or person or my wife or would say. So this is really tailored to what I was feeling. And if you want, tell me whether fatigue is more mental, ocular, or both, if you are tiring early or late in the session, and whether weekends are different from weekdays. And I said, the fatigue starts ocular and becomes more mental. It's depressing to feel that I cannot just keep functioning normally. And then ChatGPT says, I'm really glad you said that out loud. What you're describing is not weakness, failure, or a loss of progress. It's a very human response to prolonged overload. And it's especially common in people who are doing something as demanding as retraining binocular vision while carrying a lot of life responsibility. Let me talk to you first as a person and then as someone who understands this kind of visual fatigue deeply. This feeling is real and it makes sense. Fatigue starts ocular and becomes mental. That sequence is important. What's happening is roughly this. 1. Your eyes fatigue first, so fusion, alignment, effort. 2. Your brain works harder to compensate. 3. The extra effort spills into mental exhaustion. 4. Mental exhaustion feeds emotional heaviness. And 5. That emotional weight makes everything feel harder and more fragile. So that's exactly, I know this process, that's exactly how I feel, but sometimes it's like a trap that you still have to keep doing whatever you're doing to function in your family or your work, and then you fall into the trap anyway. And at that point, so now it's ChatGPT again, at that point it's not just vision anymore. It touches your sense of competence and continuity. Yeah, that's so true. It's not like you cannot separate the vision disability anymore from your personality or your competence and continuity. So when you say it's depressing to feel I cannot just keep functioning, this is not catastrophizing. That's grief for the effort it takes just to stay upright. And given a move, work pressure, parenting, ongoing therapy, and the loss of your old environment, it's completely understandable that your system is saying that's a lot. Very important reframe. Please read this twice. You are not failing to function. You are functioning at the edge of a very heavy or a very high load. This is a huge difference. The problem is not you. The problem is sustained demand without enough recovery margin. And vision, especially binocular vision, is one of the first systems to signal overload. Why this feels especially hard emotionally. People with long-standing visual challenges often develop a deep, quiet belief like, I need to keep going or everything falls apart. So, when your eyes fatigue and your mind follows, it doesn't feel just tiring, it feels threatening. That's true. In my reactions to my wife and I really feel sometimes combative, and there's no good reason for it. I just feel so tired and so threatened that I just try to kind of shut down everything, but of course that's not a very constructive attitude. Your nervous system, so now back to GPT, your nervous system reads it as loss of control, vulnerability. What if I can't cope? That's why the feeling is depressing, not just annoying. This does not mean something is wrong with you psychologically. It means your system has been strong for a long time and now it needs gentleness. Okay, what can help right now? Not long-term, not theoretical. Stop measuring yourself during fatigue. Fatigue lies when you are visually tired, your brain underestimates your capacity. Everything feels permanent, progress feels erased. Make a rule. I do not evaluate my functioning when my eyes are tired. Check in only after rest or sleep. Give yourself explicit permission to function at 80%. This is not giving up. This is strategic survival. Tell yourself, for this season, good enough is enough. I don't need to optimize. Therapy, parenting, work, adaptation, you just need to sustain for now. Create one daily non-demanding visual space. This matters more than it sounds. One short period each day where your eyes are not being asked to perform. No screens, no precision, no pressure. Examples: lying down with your eyes closed, sitting outside looking far away, listening to something with your eyes resting, a dim room, soft focus. This is not indulgent, this is neural recovery. Adjust therapy expectations without guilt. You are still doing therapy, that's enough. But emotionally, shift the goal from I need to keep improving to right now I'm protecting what I built. And that is success. Plateau plus fatigue during life transitions are where gains are consolidated, not lost. One thing I want you to hear very clearly, the fact that fatigue starts ocular, then becomes mental, and then emotional, means your inside is intact. You are not unraveling, you are noticing limits. That is health, not failure. So yeah, I'm not losing my mind. So that's good, even though I'm talking to ChatGPT. A gentle truth. There are periods in life when functioning looks different, energy is borrowed, not abundant, progress is quieter, strength is invisible. This is one of those periods. It will not last forever, but it does ask for kindness instead of pressure. This is kind of like feel good talk, self-help talk. If you're open to it, I'd like you to ask one question, not to analyze, but to support you better. When you imagine not being able to keep functioning, what feels more frightening about that? You don't have to answer perfectly, even a few words is enough. You're not alone in this and you're not broken. Yeah, that's a little bit maybe too therapist-y, but I answered, so now it's me. I've always had trouble to function normally since I was a little kid, and then I had the 3 surgeries as a young adult and never managed to start working in a normal context as an employee. Now I am happily married with kids, but I need to keep functioning to keep the family and my wife and my kids happy. Or just keep it going. I also don't want to be stuck in this situation forever. I'd like to work more or expand my work or work outside the house, or at least feel visually comfortable to take on more activities. And ChatGPT says, thank you for trusting me with this. What you wrote is very clear, very grounded, and very heavy. I want to respond in a way that respects your strength and not just your struggle. First, something important that deserves to be said plainly. You're already functioning, not barely, not hypothetically. You are a parent who shows up, a partner who cares deeply about your family's well-being, someone who has endured childhood visual difficulty, failed surgeries, chronic discomfort, and someone who still chooses to work on themselves. Someone doing demanding visual therapy while life is throwing major transitions at them. That is not the story of someone who can't function. That is the story of someone who has been functioning with an unfair load for a very long time. The exhaustion you feel is not evidence of incapacity, it's evidence of sustained effort without enough safety margin. The fear underneath what you're saying. What I hear most strongly is not just fatigue, but this. If you slow down or falter, I might let my family down. What if this is as good as it gets? I can't afford to stop. That's frightening. That's a frightening place to live internally, especially when your body, through your eyes and brain, keeps reminding you that effort has a cost. This is not weakness, this is responsibility plus history plus hope colliding. Let's talk honestly about the future without false promises. You do not have to be stuck like this forever, but you also don't escape it by pushing harder. People with long-standing strabismus and sensory strain who do eventually expand their life, work outside the home, take on more activities, feel more visually comfortable, almost always do so by stabilizing first, then gradually expanding without tying self-worth to constant functioning. You are in stage 1 right now, so stabilizing, even if it doesn't feel like it. And stage 1 is not glamorous. It's tiring, it feels like holding ground instead of moving forward, but it's the only stage that leads to real expansion. A key reframe. This matters. You are not trying to become someone who can power through indefinitely. You are trying to become someone who can function comfortably with predictable energy without your nervous system constantly on alert. That is a different goal and a much healthier one. About work activity and more life. More life, it says. Your wish to work outside the house, take on more activities, feel visually comfortable in the world is reasonable and attainable, but only if approached gradually and strategically. Think in terms of capacity building, not sudden normalcy. Examples of what actually works long term: short, predictable outings, same place, same time, low stakes external activities, coffee shop, walk, errand, visual environments that are chosen, not chaotic, slowly increasing exposure as comfort improves. Not I should, so not the things not to do. I should be able to do this right now, like the pressure, or I have to prove I'm capable, or if I stop, I'll never restart. Those thoughts burn energy you don't have to spare. A very important truth about your kids and wife. You said, I need to keep functioning to keep them happy, or to keep my kids and wife happy. I want to gently challenge the pressure in that sentence. Your kids don't need a parent who never struggles. They need a parent who is present, honest, and human. Your wife doesn't need you to be invulnerable. She needs you alive, connected, and sustainable. Burning yourself out quietly helps no one, even if it feels noble. Yeah, that's true. But yeah. Well, I have to protect my boundaries because they don't feel my boundaries, so they will keep asking more and more and more, and then I will get overloaded again and get in trouble. So that's also sometimes my needs conflict with whatever she or they want, so it's difficult. What you're really asking for. Under everything I hear, I want a future where my life is bigger than just coping. Yeah, that's for sure. That's not unrealistic, but it starts with compassion for where you are now, not rejection of it. You are not stuck, you are in transition neurologically and emotionally, and transitions feel unstable by nature. One grounding perspective to hold on to: you have already proven something crucial. You can adapt, build, love, and create a family even with imperfect vision. Now the next chapter isn't about becoming normal. It's about becoming more comfortable, more confident, and less strained. And that happens slowly, but it does happen. And also to go back to the previous point, to do this little, so in my previous neighborhood, I felt very comfortable going out and doing errands, and like I knew what was what, and what energy I would have to expend, let's say, to do certain things. But here, it's always new, and I have to figure out and look around a lot, and things might get much more exhausting than you previously anticipated. So that's why, you're going into margin a lot, for example. So, and then at the end of their explanation, it's always like, let me ask you one other question. Then, so what, like, if you imagine a good future, not perfect, just good. Not perfect, just good. What is the smallest concrete change you would make that would make life feel meaningfully better? And I say, being able to read more comfortably and being able to drive or bike my kids around without feeling like I'm going to burn out if I keep doing it daily. So a good life would be one with reliable vision, where I don't have to think about the limits of my vision too often or be too afraid of burning out doing normal daily tasks. So thank you. So now ChatGPT, thank you. What you described is clear, reasonable, and deeply human. You are not asking for perfection, you're asking for reliability, and that matters. Let me speak to this carefully because what you want is achievable, but only if you stop framing your vision as something that must be constantly pushed. What you're really asking for and why it's valid. You want to read without your eyes draining your energy. You want to drive and bike your kids regularly without fear of cumulative burnout. To stop monitoring your vision all the time. To trust that tomorrow feels roughly the same as today, not worse. That is not an unreasonable wish. That is just baseline quality of that is a baseline quality of life goal. I agree. And the key word here is one that you already used: reliable. Not stronger, not perfect, not limitless, predictable and sustainable. A crucial truth that reframes everything. Right now your visual system is capable, but it is operating without margin. When a system has no margin, everything feels more risky. Normal life feels like overuse, fatigue feels like danger, and rest feels like falling behind. Your problem is not a lack of ability, it is lack of buffer. The good news, the buffer is something you can build. Why reading and driving are especially hard? Reading demands sustained conversion, stable fusion, suppression control, cognitive focus, little head movement, which ironically increases strain. For someone with your history, reading is one of the most binocularly expensive tasks. Yeah, that's for sure. And why driving and biking the kids demands on where your visual systems are dynamic eye-head coordination, continuous scanning, motion processing, vigilance, emotional responsibility for your kids' safety. So when these exhaust you, it's not weakness, it's a high-load task hitting a system that's already working hard. The path to not thinking about your vision anymore. This is the most important part. People reach this state not by eliminating limits, but by making limits irrelevant through stability. Yeah, so this happens in 3 phases. Phase 1, stabilization. This is where you are now. Goal, reduce volatility, reduce fear of burnout, stop losses, preserve gains. This phase feels frustrating because improvement is quiet, effort is still required, life stress masks progress. But without this phase, nothing sustainable follows. You're already doing this phase correctly. And then phase 2 is margin building. This is the next 6 to 18 months. Make common tasks cost less, increase recovery speed, reduce cumulative fatigue. And this is where reading becomes tolerable again. Driving stops feeling like a gamble, and you stop counting on how much vision you have left. So you stop counting how much vision you have left. This phase does not feel dramatic. It feels like, this didn't drain me as much. That's how you know it's working. And then phase 3 is expansion. Take on more more activities without thinking, work outside the house, live more spontaneously. I would like to live more spontaneously, but also with the kids it's hard to live spontaneously. This only works if phase 1 and 2 are respected, of course. This is what actually builds reliability, reduce the cost of reading, so practical strategies to reduce the cost of reading. Slightly larger font than normal, higher contrast, frequent short breaks before fatigue, reading posture that allows head movement, and audiobooks plus visual reading together. Yeah, that's a big one for me. I do a lot of audio plus reading. This is not giving up, this is energy economics. And then make biking and driving predictable, not heroic. Heroic. Yeah, my driving is not that bad. Excuse me. Right now, driving feels like something you survive. That's not true, actually. It's not that bad. It just could be tiring, especially biking as well. Stop testing your daily limits, okay? Decide in advance what's safe, stay well within it. Expand slowly, only when fatigue consistently decreases. About your fear of being stuck forever. This fear makes sense. You've lived with limits since childhood. But here's the difference now. You understand your system now. You have measurable improvement. You are actively retraining binocular function. You are not suppressing or dissociating. You are aware instead of forcing. Those are exactly the conditions under which people move forward. Progress doesn't look like a sudden cure. It looks like, I didn't think about my eyes today. One thing I want you to carry with you. You are not trying to earn your family's happiness by exhausting yourself. You are trying to build a life that you can stay present in. That requires patience, not pressure. And then, of course, a grounding question, no rush to answer. When you imagine a day where you read comfortably, you drive your kids and you cycle your kids around comfortably, you don't feel afraid of burnout. What do you imagine doing after that? Not a plan, just to remind yourself you are building toward a life, not just away from suffering. I'm here with you in this. Yeah, that's true. Like, you're building towards a life, not just away from suffering. And that's something very important that also I've been asking myself. Like, I've been in this bind, in this limitation for so long, and I'm trying to reduce the effort and just feel more comfortable. And I have my life now with my wife and my kids, but that's not like I'm actually an ambitious person. So what am I building towards? Like a life that I can feel spontaneous and expand these associations to business association, or have like a kind of a career still. So that's kind of a, like, if these limitations go away gradually, I think that will become more clear by doing what I can do and what I want to do. But already what I'm doing now with my business association gives me a lot of pleasure, and I feel kind of accomplished, or I feel recognition and happy, like satisfaction basically. So if I can expand that in a way that it goes faster and bigger and better sooner, that would already be great. And that many things would come of that, because you meet so many people who have the same problem, and you would help so many people. It would be kind of addicting anyway, which it is already, but if you can do it with full force, that would be amazing. But so anyway, that was a long video. I hope some of these answers were useful to somebody. To me, definitely was very illuminating, some of them, and I already know many of them subconsciously, and I was already implementing them, but it was very nice to see them really like in black and white written down. Yeah, it's quite impressive what ChatGPT, how well it understands binocular problems. And but the only thing where I would kind of push back is that, like, yeah, you don't need to make your family happy by keep functioning, but yeah, anyone who has kids, they know the kids don't stop, right? They don't really realize, oh, Papa has a problem. They just keep going, and they have so much energy that you just need to keep up with it, because otherwise nothing works. So anyway, that's just life. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you thought about the ChatGPT conversation, and whether you recognize yourself in some of the answers or the questions. Thank you very much for watching. See you in the next one.